in my room. I mean, we had literally like one or two students, so we were bringing in like $500 to $1,000 a month. And then yeah, like a weekend, I think I had like a 70 ROAS or something crazy like that. And look at me now, I'm just hit $30,000 in Costa Rica. Quite literally the best decision I've made.
Well, dude, welcome. I appreciate you being here.
Sorry.
Pretty much, dude. For those who don't know, before we jump into all of the, the transformation and whatnot, and before we even get into how you did what you did, I kind of want people to know, if they don't know already, who Dylan is. If you're cool with that, so if you want to
Yeah,
dive in and kind of introduce yourself and then go into your offer a bit, that'd be killer.
for sure. Okay. So what's up, guys? My name is Dylan Schick. I am 20 years old and I'm from New Jersey. I'm currently in Costa Rica right now, though, thanks to the remote world. But a little bit about myself. I grew up playing basketball. You know, that's all I really knew. Basketball, basketball, basketball. And it wasn't until kind of this past year when I kind of started scoping around the online space, and that's when I got into remote sales about a year ago. Um, and I kind of, saw results a lot quicker than a lot of, the other students that were in the mentorship that I invested in. And essentially, I felt like I felt like I had the credentials where I could start teaching other people. So I put my boy onto remote sales, and I got him on an offer, and he started making some money. So then we were like, okay, wait, we could teach other people this. So we kind of teamed up, and that's when we started Go Remote. That is our offer right now, and that's kind of when we met Noah. Because obviously we didn't really know about how to really launch an info product or really, the systems and structures. So we were looking around, um, you know, for someone to help us start and scale our offer. And Noah did, just that. So it's a little bit about me and, our offer.
I love it. I love it, dude. That's amazing. You went into a bit of like, you played sports, you hooped back then and whatnot. I know we talked about that a couple times. Can you talk about, how life was itself, other than business, how life was itself before you got into, making the money that you're making now? Like, how was life when you joined us? Like right before you joined us, that kind of period right there.
Yeah, I mean, for sure a gray area. Um, because I mean, obviously I wasn't making the money that I am right now, right? And I had a lot of doubt, right? And I don't want to, talk about, how Noah, switched all of that. I'll get into that in a little bit because, before I was in a gray area, didn't really know where to go or how to really maneuver around actually starting an online coaching business. And yeah, I mean, point blank, I was in a gray area. I didn't know how to, really do anything. I needed that guidance. I know investing into mentors and investing into guidance is one of the most beneficial things you can do. I know that because I invested into mentor for remote sales. I tried plenty of other online business models before that, with no mentors, with no guidance, and completely failed. So I knew that I need to, switch something up, and that's when I invested into a mentor originally, who showed me the ropes of remote sales, show me, how to actually, land jobs, how to acquire the skill set, etc. So I knew this time around, instead of trying to figure out on myself and how to actually scale the offer, I invested into Noah. And it was quite literally the best decision I've made.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, kind of in the same boat there. Investing into mentors and kind of just pulling the trigger there has helped me a ton as well. Dude, let's talk about the transformation. The transformation was insane with you guys. I remember like vividly where you guys started, but I want these guys to know. So if you let them know, like
Yeah,
if you're cool with it, how much you were making before and whatnot,
yeah.
and then how much you're making now.
So with the coaching offer, when we first started with Noah, I think it was like May. I think it was May, or was it late May or like early June?
Mhm.
But we started with Noah then, so around like three months ago. We had a low ticket offer at the time. It was $500. We had literally like one or two students, so we were bringing in like $500 to $1,000 a month with our coaching offer before we joined Noah. We didn't have any systems, no nothing. We didn't even have like a school or like a platform to have our modules on. and we were literally just using Discord as like a chat and whatever because like we really were clueless.
Right.
And that's kind of when we hit up Noah. And over these past 3 months, we have scaled to now. This past month in August, we just hit a little over $30,000 in rev.
Wow,
And a
dude.
little, yeah.
That's insane. That's so
So
wild. Like the come up to add an additional, what is that, $29,500 to your revenue, your monthly revenue is insane. Dude,
yeah.
okay, so $500 a month.
Hmm.
And you said we started in like late May. I remember like the first few months we worked together, like the first like 2 or 3 weeks. I remember we barely even touched on systems, right?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we need to step away from systems. We need to go into the limiting beliefs because you guys had limiting beliefs stacked on like back to back to
Hmm.
back. It was crazy, right? So that was definitely a big issue. We'll get into that in a bit, but dude, can you talk to the guys about like, because that's a big change. $500 a month to $30,000 a month is a massive like paradigm shift, is what I would call it, right?
Hmm.
Huge. So, what would you say is different from how you're, how you maneuver day to day when you're doing $500 a month to now? Like you just did 30K last month. We're at the second day
Yeah.
of September. Like, what's different?
Yeah, 100%. I know you said you wanted to, tackle this in a little bit, but I want to tackle it now. It
Go
starts with
for it,
your
dude.
mindset and it ends with your mindset. If you don't have, a strong, place up here, you're gonna break. Because the first few weeks with Noah, obviously we weren't seeing any gains or anything, but that's because we weren't adding any of the system structures or any of, the VSL or whatever the case may be. We weren't adding any of that into our actual offer yet. We were just solely aligning with our 10.0 self, what Noah says. And that has stuck with me. And that has really, the 10.0 self has really, instilled, a winner mentality inside of myself. And that's why I've scaled each and every month. And I know next month or this month, it's September right now, first week of September, we're going to have, a better month than last month. And that's kind of the, 10.0 self or the 10.0 alignment that you got to have. That's literally the first thing Noah ever taught us is to align with your future self, the person who's already making 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month. And it's not a long time coming. It's only been 3 months, but it's definitely been a process. And because he instilled that, mentality and that mindset in us is why we achieved it in the end.
I love it, dude. I didn't instill that mindset in you, dude. That
Mhm.
was like I gave you guys the idea and taught you guys how we did it for ourselves, and you created your own reality from there. And I think that's awesome. I think it's insanely inspirational. Like for everybody watching this, maybe they're doing $500 a month, maybe they're doing a little more. $500 a month is on the very low end. You know what I mean? So for guys in that scenario, in your shoes, when you joined in late May or early June, when you talk about 10.0 self, they have no idea what that means. Could you explain a bit of like what your 10.0 self specifically looked like? What was that version of you that you kept envisioning and you created that you were like kind of striving for? Like who did that Dylan
Yeah.
look like?
So obviously, going through all the modules and going on the one-on-ones with Noah in the very early stages of joining his mentorship, we were just talking about our goals and who our 10.0 self was, right? And at the time, like Noah said, I was home, living in my room. I mean, making $500 a month, not really, knowing where this coaching business could lead us, right? And once I wrote down my goals, I actually believed I could achieve them, right? And those goals were, $20,000 a month, traveling the world, and really just having that time, location, and financial freedom that I know this coaching business could get us. And look at me now, I'm just hit $30,000 in Costa Rica, living with my other boy who is my business partner who did this with me. So just aligning with the person that you want to become and making sure that every action, every decision aligns with that person, right? And that's kind of what every day comes down to. you know, am I going to go out and party or am I going to stay in and work? Right. The
Mhm.
person who's making $30,000 a month, what is he going to do? Stay in and work, or is he going to go out and party? And I kind of, lived off of that, decision making. And that ultimately has led me to where I'm at now, aligning with my 10.0 self. And now my 10.0 self is a whole different,
Mhm.
whole different character now.
Exactly.
Now I'm aiming for 100K months, living in, a high rise, all that good stuff, with all the, materialistic things, giving all my giving it back to my parents and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I love that. That's amazing. And you talk about giving back to your parents. I think that's a massive thing for anybody in this online space. Is like it's huge. Everybody I talk to, it's like there's really two main things that we're really focused on, right? And at least for me myself, and I'm sure for you and your guys as well, is like number one, freedom. So I rejoined online business not to make a shit ton of money only, but to make a good enough amount of money where we have the freedom to fly to Costa Rica whenever we want, whenever we feel like it, to work on our laptop, go grab a coffee while we're working, still make 5K, whatever the case is. That kind of freedom to do what you want when you want is a massive kind of emotional trigger that a lot of my guys have. Another thing though that you just mentioned is giving back to your parents is massive, right? That's something that stands with me. It's like that's a dream. I have it on my vision board. I've had it since I was 17. It's just stuck up there. You know what I mean? And for you as well, you mentioned that. So, can you go a bit deeper? I'm going to get into systems in a minute. I know we have
Yeah.
a lot to talk about there, but just really quickly to bounce back and talk about how your life was kind of growing up with your parents. Like, what was your situation? Did you guys grow up in a pretty well household, or was it kind of, talk about that a bit if you're cool with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I grew up in, a middle class family. I mean, I'm forever grateful. My parents definitely did good on their end, you know. Um, but I was obviously, they gave me things and stuff, but in the end, like it wasn't just like, oh, let me have $100 and they would give me $100, right? They made me earn, my stripes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I invested into all these mentors, now I've, invested multiple five figures into mentors, that stuff wasn't handed to me, right? I actually had, I had to go out, get a job before I got into online money space to even, have the money to invest into myself, right? All the money I've ever invested was from me and was from the jobs that I have worked. So yeah, I mean, I'm forever grateful for, my parents and everything they gave me, the upbringing that I've had. They definitely did a great job. But at the end of the day, I wasn't just handed this, right? I actually worked for it day in and day out, the past, 10 months every single day. Um, but yeah, I mean, to go back to my parents, I mean, they're great. I mean, they've done a lot for me. But at the end of the day, it wasn't just handed to me, in terms of, where I'm at now.
Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's a pretty similar story to me as well. I mean, we grew up in Hawaii and it was, priced out of pair, insanely expensive out there. So it was never like, I had a traditional Japanese mother. So asking them for money or bread or anything like that was not gonna happen. Just not a thing. And it was exactly like you said, you need to earn your stripes if you're gonna, make something work for yourself. You want to do something. And I respect that a lot. I think that's massive because a lot of guys do rely on their parents when they made it well. And to be able to pull off on your own, do your own thing and do it on your own, it's very impressive. It's very awesome. And I think it's very inspirational. So, okay, dude, going into systems now, when you were starting your offer, I know you mentioned you were doing low ticket. You had it for about $500 a month. You had like one or two guys in there. So you're racking in about 500 to $1,000 recurring. What were you struggling with at that point? Right before you joined us, before you heard anything about, Operation Hijacks, anything like that, what was like
Yeah.
the main bottleneck?
I mean, like trust, lead flow. Because at the time, we didn't have any like case studies, testimonials. Um, and then also just like, lead flow, we weren't getting the leads because of that. So it kind of, worked hand in hand. And then also content, like we weren't posting content, like literally everything, like everything was a bottleneck at the time.
Okay,
And
cool.
you really opened our eyes on, what can be and what should be. And, you just told us what we had to do and we did it.
Sweet. Sweet. So for leads then, were you guys doing, I mean, you said you weren't doing content. I know you guys weren't doing ads. Was it all word of mouth at that time?
Yeah, kind of. And in terms of that, like I'd post like some stories, but like yeah, I mean, I honestly don't even remember how we were getting clients at the time. I think we did some cold outreach or something. I knew we were posting our stories a little bit, but ultimately I was also kind of, scared, not scared of being judged. I mean, yeah, I guess scared of being judged and everything, or, just fear, limiting beliefs like we talked about before. But yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah, I think I remember that. what did we cover? It was called the cringe mountain, I believe we talked about. And
Yeah.
it's, most of the guys that I work with are already doing like 5, 10K a month. So they've already had content posted and whatnot. For you, for your case, it was a bit different. You didn't have much content. So it was like, we needed to jump over that cringe mountain. And how it works for
Mhm.
those of you guys who don't know is really, you get to the top of the cringe mountain, you realize, on the climb, you think everyone's going to shit on you. You think everyone's going to judge you, yada, yada. And then you're at the top and you look down and realize everybody who was talking at you or yapping at you is on a lower level. It's like, it goes back to the saying of like, nobody above you is going to talk down on you. It's just not how it works, right? It's
Yeah.
always going to be people below, the crabs in the bucket. So on that note, dude, I mean, what made you, I guess, decide to work with us despite any doubts? Did you guys have any doubts or hesitations before coming with us or anything like that?
I mean, not really. I mean, I talked to a few people, but I think, at the end of the day, the biggest thing was the mindset, right? And I think that's what you really, prefaced before, we actually joined you is that, you got to get right up here before, anywhere else, right? And that's kind of what stood out to me and my partner. And that's kind of why we went forward with you. And like I said in the beginning of the call, that was like the most beneficial thing, probably in terms of actually staying consistent, staying the course, and just not giving up at the end of the day, because we had limiting beliefs, we had fear that this wasn't going to work out, especially if where we were at, we were only doing $500 a month, if that. So it was kind of just the belief system that you instilled into your clients.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the mindset is huge. I'm glad that worked so well on you guys because that's something I stand on myself. And there's a lot of programs out here that teach a bit of mindset. They kind of dip their toes in it, like, hey, make sure you're doing the right things, yada yada. But then the way we do it, which I think is really cool and very, very helpful, that not a lot of people, at least I don't know anybody who does it like us in terms of mindset and reprogramming, is we go actually deep into your subconscious and pluck out single limiting beliefs one at a time, and piece by piece eliminate anything that's not getting you closer to where you want to go. And
Yeah.
when you can understand that, the growth that you've experienced, the growth that we've experienced, the growth that all of our clients have experienced isn't an additional game. It's not a game of adding another funnel. It's not a game of adding another system necessarily. What it really comes down to is a game of subtraction, where the things you eliminate, all the little things, that mainly the limiting beliefs, when you can get out of those, because limiting belief became a term nowadays where it's almost walked over. You hear it all the time. It first became a thing, like, I don't know how long ago when Bob Proctor was talking about it, but it's almost walked over now. But it's such a massive differentiator when it comes to business. Because if you have limiting beliefs not allowing you to get to where you want to go, and you have a version of you that's almost self-sabotaging your own progress, any system or funnel isn't going to fix that.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome that works so well for you. And I also want to ask you, I'm pretty sure I remember when we were talking in the DMs, you were like, and let me know if you remember this. I think you said, what's different between you and Sam
Yeah.
Millsap? I think you're looking at
Yeah.
Sam Millsap's program. And for guys who don't know, I think Sam Millsap's doing he has like a really big offer. He has like tons and tons of clients, fitness guy and whatnot. Can I ask you, where was like your thought pattern there, and what made you actually want to go towards us compared to Sam Millsap? I'm just curious.
Yeah, like I said, well, obviously Samuel Sapi has a really big following. I didn't know how much, access I was going to get to him. And at the end of the day, it's really, the connection you build with your mentor, and, the value they could provide for you directly, right? Obviously, Sam, he has great deliverables. He's a testimonial, himself. But then at the end of the day, like I said, I really value, that one-on-one, connection and friendship that I build, with my mentors. So I feel like that was kind of the determining factor. Also, just how you carry yourself, and your content and everything. It was just a gut feeling at the end of the day.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what about like the first, going through it as a timeline, right? Like the first few weeks that you joined us, you guys paid in full immediately. You guys moved really quick. And we are talking about, momentum, and you guys were on it like that. And it was nothing where there was no negotiating happen. There was no think about it. You guys were like, okay, I'm ready. I'm sold. Let's get into it. Let me see. I think my camera died here. 1 second. Yeah, you guys moved really quickly, which I love. And I talk about it a lot. When you have
Mhm.
fire under your ass, when you move quickly, you build fire under your ass. And when you have fire under your ass, you move quickly. So it's kind of like this paradigm that works in your favor. But in the first few weeks, dude, was there any kind of like doubt or hesitation about the program of like, I wonder if this is actually going to work, anything like that?
No, so it was more of a me and my partner thing. I remember calling. This is also why, I chose Noah because he was literally there for us, whenever we needed him. We gave him a call, we gave him a text, he was there for us. Because me and my partner, or I don't want to throw him under the bus, but my partner had a lot of limiting beliefs. I did too, but I kind of just got over them. But he would have, a lot of limiting beliefs. And I'd always, go to Noah and have, not calm him down, but help him get over them. Because at the end of the day, limiting belief is just a belief that is stopping you from actually pursuing XYZ, right? And it's a pendulum. It's something that Noah goes over in his modules, and it's not real. It is real, but it's not at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like a wall that you have to get over, and Noah helped us get over a lot of walls, right? And I feel like I said, he was always there for us, and I feel like that was a big, that was very beneficial for us because we were very new to this. We had a lot of limiting beliefs, we had a lot of doubts, we had a lot of fear, but he kind of helped us climb over those walls. um, but yeah, I mean, in the beginning, just within, I guess, just his mentorship alone, like it was, great. Obviously, the first week or two, it was like Noah said, nothing about any of the systems or structure or anything like that. It was purely just mindset and aligning with our 10.0 self. And once we really instilled that into us, that's kind of when it's a domino effect, snowball effect. It just it just we kept on going up and up and up and up. And we're still doing that till this day because of the first 2 weeks. The foundation has really laid out our roadmap for us.
Awesome. I love it. Killer, dude. Okay, cool. So we got the foundation dialed. After
Mhm.
that, I want to ask you, Dylan, what were some of like the few, I would say, shifts or big, differences that you've seen or even wins that you've noticed once we actually started to plug in the systems?
I mean, well, first off, just posting content in general, I actually, started building my personal brand around what I was doing and around the service I was selling. Obviously, I was getting a lot more leads. We actually built up a school with a bunch of modules and everything. So we actually we're getting a little bit more professional, and we started getting clients come in. And then we started actually getting good deliverables for our clients. And like I said, it was kind of just a snowball effect. And we just started really killing it. Every single week we were getting better and better and better. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that really helped our, my offer and all was the content, 100%. And obviously Noah, implemented some content ideas for us, funnels, etc. And it really helped us, take off.
Sweet. Sweet. Okay, cool. And then, with our offer, we have a almost like a three-step system. And we have starting with building organic content, our content strategy and whatnot, that entire funnel with the school that I'm glad you guys have up and ready to go now. So content, bang, dialed. What about the ads, dude? I remember when we launched the ads, if you're cool talking about kind of your budget there. And then also I just remember when we plugged in our compounding ad strategy, things just like shot like through the roof. Like the foundation was built, the content was built, everything else was built. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are the ones that experienced it. But from my end, what it looked like was the compounding ads. Once that got plugged in, you guys had like, I think I remember it was like a 77 return on ad spend at one point, like 9 days in. It was insane. Right. So if you're cool talking about, your budget with ads and, telling people
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, for sure. I
500
mean,
bucks.
yeah, just it was our first time ever running ads. We started our ad spend pretty low, only like, well, first we just had to warm up our ad account because we've never run ads before. So we just did like a testing ad for like a couple days to warm up our ad account. Then after that, I launched a creative and I just started with like $10 a day. And then yeah, like a weekend, I think I had like a 70 row ads or something crazy like that. Um, and probably at the peak, I only was spending like $50 a day on that one creative. I had a few other creatives going at like, $5 or $10 a day. But consistently, like right now, I think my ROAS is like 20, 25, just still insane.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I
that's
mean, I don't really know a lot about ads, to be honest. I was just doing what Noah was telling us to
yeah.
do, and it's working. So
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, just FYI, 77 return on ad spend is insane. Like it's a very big ad spend. If you look at it as a machine, it's 77 return on ad spend means you put $1,000 in, you return $77,700 out, right? And obviously it differs from when you put money in, but
yeah.
just seeing your ROAS so early was very cool to see. Just seeing
Hmm.
how plug and play you guys were. That was a massive thing that I really appreciated with you guys. Um, was the ability for you to be open minded and
Yeah.
not try to, oh, I don't think this is gonna work, or let's not try this. It was more of just like, dude, let's just tell me what to do. I'm gonna do it, lay the stepping stones out, and I'm gonna put my foot forward. And that's exactly what you guys did. And that made it so easy for me because all I had to do was tell you everything that I know, and I'm a huge guy on, building your business around your life, not your other way around.
Hmm.
Right. So when
Exactly.
you build your life around your business, life kind of gets shitty. You're talking to clients you don't want to work with. And,
Yeah.
you tell clients that you're going to give them the world in the first couple of days. And what ends up happening is you're on one-on-one calls and you're dreading it. You know what I mean? You're trying to fulfill on what you promised them just to get that payment. But for you guys, it was so easy because I remember just telling you realistically, hey, I think realistic outcome we could. I don't remember if I told you. I was like, yeah, 10K. I mean, you guys started from ground zero, 10K in the first 3 months. I think we can make that happen. And you guys are now at 30, which is insane. So the fact that you guys were just so open minded with it, and we're just like, hey, put the stepping stones down, and we're gonna step on it, and it worked like butter. It was literally butter. So that's awesome. So now you guys are at 30K. You know, you started at 500 first couple weeks. It took about 60 to 70 days to get you guys to 30K. I mean, I know we went into this a little bit in the beginning, but what does that really feel like to you? Like just on the making 30K, like you have $30,000 coming into your bank account in a month. Like, what does that look like to you? Well, how does that feel? You're muted, brother.
My fault.
No worries.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely feels, very good. And
Very good.
wait, hold up. Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I was
You're
just
good.
getting Zach. 1 second.
You're good. No worries, dude.
Hold up.
I
All
was gonna
right.
say, I think 30K per month feels a bit better than pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely feels very good. I felt very accomplished for sure, just to see how far, we've come. And then also, like, at the end of the day, money is just a number in your bank account, right? I get,
Yep.
my real fulfillment from helping my students out. And by, getting all this money, obviously I'm getting students into the program. And by getting more students into the program, I'm helping more and more people change their lives day in and day out. And, that's where I get my real fulfillment. So, obviously the money's amazing. That's, what keeps me afloat. But, the real fulfillment I get is from really helping my students.
Okay.
So forever grateful for, all of that for sure.
I love it. Yeah, I'm there with you. That's facts. So outside of money, dude, outside of numbers, I know you mentioned that it's not a massive
Mhm.
thing for you, which is awesome. What else has changed for you, like personally or even in your lifestyle? I know you're in Costa Rica right now. Like, how do you move different now? Do you feel different when you walk into a room? Like, how does that feel?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I try and put my ego aside all the time, but like, yeah, I definitely feel like, on a higher echelon. Obviously, I'm not where I want to be. And a lot of people that I, am networking with and I'm in touch with are definitely, on a, higher pedestal than me. But I know I'll get there one day. I kind of feel like, just knowing that I've made this leap, I know I can make another leap and another one and another one, and it's only a matter of time. I already know that I will accomplish it. I know time just hasn't caught up yet, and that is not, being cocky in any way. It's just aligning with my 10.0 self. So,
Yep, right there. I love it. So within the systems, would you say there was like a moment, and it's cool if there wasn't, but would you say there was like a moment in time or a moment throughout the process where you realized like, oh damn, like this is actually working? Was there
yeah,
any kind of moment like that?
yeah, probably when, well, there's probably two. first time when we took our second trip to Miami, because that was like when like we really started taking off. And then also probably when I got my first PIF.
Killer.
Sure.
What was your PIF for?
4K.
Wow, dude. And you're collecting like 500 in the beginning. That's crazy.
Sir.
That is wild. Okay, sweet, dude. So okay, let's look at it like this. If somebody was in your shoes,
Mhm.
someone is in the same exact spot that you were 3
Mhm.
months ago, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that, the one decision that you are scared of making is the one that will change your life.
Bars.
That's it.
I love it.
Simple.
I love it. Very simple. Very simple. Okay. And then now that you're at 30K, dude, like what's next? What are you aiming for? I know you mentioned 100K a month. I know you mentioned 50.
Yeah,
What's next, dude?
50 for sure. 50K.
Are we doing that this month?
Yes, sir. This month and next month.
It's recorded. It's recorded. You got to keep your word to it now.
I know. This month
50K.
and next month I will.
That's killer, dude. Okay, and then what about like a personal goal, dude? Just for the people to see, we'll drop you all your socials at the end so they can follow along with you and kind of see, follow your words, see how far you really take this. What's like a personal goal for you? Do you have something where it's like,
Yeah.
give my mom a
Yeah.
stack of cash or like what is that?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to move out by next spring because I still live with my parents, but right now I'm traveling. So, I'm gonna travel for, a little bit. Um, Probably go home for a couple months and then actually move out and really start the next chapter of my life. I feel like this is already in the next chapter because it's we're traveling for a little bit right now. We booked a one-way flight.
Hmm.
um but yeah, I had personal goal to move out by next spring, and then also you know be making like I'd say 30 grand, have 30 grand months consistently, not even cash, just pure profit, 30 grand a month.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love it.
So those are
Very
my
cool.
two biggest goals: move out, and then 30 grand cash, not even cash collected, just 30 grand profit.
Sweet, dude.
Consistent.
Sweet. Okay, and then could you expand really quick before we jump out of here
Mhm.
a bit more on like you said you're living with your parents.
Yeah.
You did all this in your parent in your bedroom that you grew up in. I know a lot of guys, I know myself back in the day had that limiting belief of like, I'm not gonna be able to do what these guys are doing because they're out in Miami, sharing a high rise with
Mhm.
7 other guys, yada yada. I assumed I just couldn't do it in my parents' bedroom. What would you say to guys who have that thought right now?
Yeah, I promise you, they were once in your position. 110% they were once in your position. Even if you feel like they started ahead of you, they didn't. They might have, but at the end of the day, you have the same resources, you have the same tools online. You actually have to just go and get them, right? Like, if I never invest into, everyone has access to Noah, but there's very few people who are actually willing to do what it takes to actually get to where they want and scale their, coaching business. Knew what it, I knew what it, I knew what I had to do to actually get to, the 20, 30, 40K months. And that was, investing into a mentor. And that mentor was Noah that I invested in. And like I said, it was worth every single penny. So if you're ever on the fence about investing into a mentor, whatever the case may be, I promise you it is going to be worth it, because like I said before, the one decision that you are either on the fence about or just scared of making is the one that could change your life.
Together. Yeah. Well, dude, drop your socials. Is there any last words? Anything else that you last words? Anything else that you want to leave these guys with and let them go with? Any words of wisdom, anything like that, brother?
No, bro. I live by this quote. I say it a ton, and I'm gonna say it again. But I promise you guys, the one decision you're scared of. I tell all my students this, or all my potential students as well. The one decision that you're scared of making is the one that could change your life. And if you are ever on the fence about actually going all in, I'm telling you to do it, because the only thing you will regret is not doing it. If you actually, lock in on whatever it is and have tunnel vision with that, I promise you it's impossible not to actually succeed if you don't give up. So just keep going, no matter it would. There was plenty of times where it would have been way easier to quit, but I kept going, and 99% of people would have quit. And if you want to be like the 99% of people, then yeah, do what 99% of people do. But if you want to be a part of that 1%, you got to be willing to do what it takes. And that's just the difference between you and the person that you want to become.
I love it. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, cool. And then dude, go ahead and drop your socials. Where can they find you? Where can
Yes,
they follow
sir.
along?
So Instagram, Dylan Chick underscore underscore. So DYLANCSIK underscore underscore. And then my TikTok is just my first and last name, Dylan Chick.
Sick, dude. Sick. I love it, bro. All right. Well, we got 50K locked in. You said that
Yes, sir.
verbally it's on agreement on right now on camera. So I think we
Uh,
got that for this one. Let's go hard. And then 100K by the end of the year. I think that's no issue. I think we just gotta double what we're doing. I think when you look at it in a numbers view, it's really just doubling the numbers, increasing ad spend. That's the best thing about
easy.
us is how many team members do you have?
Not a lot at all.
How
Is
many
it-
would you say?
How many team members? Only one.
One team member. Extremely lean team. Very simple strategy where all you need to do is not overcomplicate things. I know we had a one-on-one. Your ads are working. With a push of a button, you can increase ad spend. You can create new creatives today, and you could scale horizontally and vertically starting tonight and tomorrow. And immediately, what you're doing like 150 bucks a day on ads. You just increase ad spend, and dude, 50K is not far. That's more than reasonable for this month. So I'm pumped for you, bro. I appreciate you again, Dylan, for hopping on. This was amazing. And absolutely insanely transformational story, dude. Going from 500 to 30K a month is mad. It's awesome for sure, and I think it's very motivating for people who were in your shoes. So again, I appreciate you for coming on and being so transparent. You guys know where to find Dylan. Again, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I think if you guys got anything from this, I'm sure you guys got a shit ton of value. Drop it in the comments. Go check out Dylan, see if he's gonna hit 50 at the end of this month. We're in September now, so keep him accountable. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, I appreciate you again, brother. See you next time.
Love voice.
Cheers, brother.